I want to talk about common sense and how to act with more common sense. By common sense, I mean going about an activity in a way that would be natural for someone with expertise, someone who would just do what obviously needs doing and it would work. Common sense like that is very effective. You may think that it would be the normal way for everyone to go about everything, but as I'm sure you know from your own experience, common sense just isn't common. And we all often go about things in ways that have nothing to do with common sense. Sometimes it's because of personal agendas. We act from a desire to show how clever we are, or how caring, or to position ourselves well for promotion, or for being popular. And sometimes it's because of bureaucracy. Instead of acting out common sense, we follow rules and procedures. We do what the rules tell us should be done, but bureaucratic procedures are never as effective as common sense would be. They never tell us the full reality, they never capture the full reality. Common sense isn't anything to do with rules and procedures. The Dutch phrase for common sense translates as farmer sense, and I like that. Imagine a farmer on a spring morning, an experienced farmer. He looks out the window and it's kind of dark and rainy. He glances down. It's wet, it must have rained overnight. He's still got crops to plant, but the soil will be too wet for doing that today. He knows though that he's got other things that need doing that aren't so dependent on the weather. The wet weather won't affect it so much. Maybe he's got a bit of fencing to mend to keep a field stock-proof. He's got some equipment to order, and as always, he's got his sheep to go around and check up on and to feed. To the farmer, it's obvious what he should do. He doesn't have to consult a textbook and think, wet weather, early spring, what's the correct thing for me to do? No, he'll look to reality itself. And that's exactly what makes for common sense, looking to reality, looking to a specific reality, not farming in general, but a particular farm on a particular morning. The farmer will need a sense how things work on that particular farm, in that particular reality. So, whenever we enter a new field of action, we have to spend a while exploring, experimenting, often flailing around and failing before we garner enough experience to be able to apply common sense there. But our farmer, he already has that experience. He knows that some ways of acting would end up badly, with seeds rotting in damp soil and with fences not fixed. But other ways of acting, everything would end up well. With common sense, things always end up well. Or at least we give things the best possible chance of ending up well. It would be great, wouldn't it, if we could all just, with good intentions, decide to act with perfect common sense. You could just say, yes, I'm going to act tomorrow with common sense. But when tomorrow comes around, if you're a normal human being, then you'll get caught up in your normal habits, your normal patterns of thinking, and nothing much will have changed. If you're really going to act common sense, you need something that's going to help you. And what happens to work best is just really simple. It's having a good conversation. Well, it's having a particular type of good conversation. What I tend to think of as a reality-centered conversation. So reality-centered is the key thing there. Just as the farmer focused on the specific concrete reality of his farm, we've got to focus on the specific and concrete arena in which we would like to apply more common sense. The reality-centered conversation could be on anything. You could have a reality conversation, for example, about making smoothies. It's like, do you make smoothies? Yes, I do, as it happens. How do you make yours? I just normally take some milk and some fruit and some yogurt, and I put it in the blender and I mix it for a while. You, much the same, but with just fruit, milk and yogurt, that would be too sweet for my tastes. So I always put in some vegetables as well. Cucumber, that's my favourite. Do you always put milk in? Well, no, actually. I sometimes use milk, but I always need some liquid. Sometimes I use coconut milk or almond milk. It's very nice. With that sort of conversation, you develop a good sense of the underlying reality, in this case, the underlying reality of smoothies. While you're talking, there's a subtle shift from the start with your personal ideas, which may be very smart, but they're just the ideas that happen to be in your head. And as you talk, you shift towards kind of the common ground, how people in general have learned to see the reality of making smoothies. The common ground is kind of, it is what works, it's what's important, it's how all the different things that experience have told people makes for a good smoothie. Common sense resides in the common ground, of course. And this sort of conversation, it isn't a theory, it's a practice, and you can all practice it easily. I've got a challenge for you. It's the 7-day challenge. For you to have at least one reality-centered conversation every day for a week. If only for 5 minutes, short is good. You can have the conversation about any topic you like, work issues, things you like to do at the weekend, any area where you would like to apply more common sense. And you can have the conversation with anyone, your partner, a friend, a colleague. It's a good idea to take notes afterwards, either on the topic itself, or on the process and how you're finding it. You'll learn more about common sense from your own experience than from any book about it. Before you have the conversation, tell the person you'll be talking with what a reality-centered conversation is. That the talk has to be concrete, about specifics, not generalities. And the aim is just to get a better sense of how things are and what works. During the conversation, keep the talk concrete. Don't get carried away in trying to invent a universal formula for making the perfect smoothie or any madness like that. Try to find the common ground. So don't get drawn into talking about that wonderful smoothie you made back in April, that weekend when John and Janice were staying. It was, that was a great smoothie. Don't get caught up in that. Be a good listener. So listen in a way that encourages the person you're talking with to think aloud and don't interrupt the flow of their thinking. And be a critical thinker. So try to work out where things don't fully add up or where there might be a fruitful line of possibility to explore. If you do follow the challenge, I promise you'll find it rewarding. You'll develop a new awareness of the power of conversation. You'll develop a new awareness of the areas you're talking about. And you'll find yourself quite naturally acting with more common sense in those areas, and maybe in other areas of your life yourself. These days, with so much bureaucracy around, and so much temptation to follow our personal agendas, the most radical thing we can often do is just to act with common sense. So I urge you, be radical.